Paul Schwartz joins us from the New York Post. Longtime writer, New York Post, covers the Giants. Albany alum, grad, listening to our game on Saturday. We welcome him to our show here on Big Board Sports. Good morning, Paul.
Guys, I've got your sign-in logo. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Roger with a D and Zach with a Z.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, I like it.
I didn't know you were so against Rogers without the D.
No, I'm not. It's not so much I'm against it. It's just no one ever remembers that I've got the D. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sure your former teachers and professors probably remember you and your D's, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
But my colleagues that I've worked with for 30 years sometimes send me a little email, and at the end, it's G without the D, and it drives me crazy.
So you have to call yourself Roger like
right,
that.
Right.
Say the D.
Hey, listen, it was great having you listening to the Albany game and watching at the same time.
Oh yeah. I watch just about every game that I can.
Yeah.
That was. I should have turned it off when it was 17-7. I would have felt better the rest of the day.
Yeah, second half, and for those who didn't hear or see, Albany football up 17-14 at the half. They lost 33-17, turned the ball over 5 times, and you know as well as I do, Paul, turning that ball over like they did, you're not going to have success when you lose the turnover battle that badly.
Well, 5-0. Was it 5-0? Whatever it was 5. I know they turned the ball over 5, and they've been one of the best in the country at turnover differential.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was rough. And the worst thing about it is my daughter goes to Delaware, so we had to, we had a little bragging rights in our family,
That's right.
and she gets to brag for this year.
Yeah, I said to Zach, I looked at Delaware has really struggled this year. They fired their coach a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, but I looked at Delaware on Saturday and said, boy, I don't know how they only got one win in the CAA, because they looked like a really good team on Saturday, to be honest with you.
Well, they can't throw the ball. No,
they can't throw it. They just
the two teams you saw, in that game, neither team's quarterback play is very good. So, when that happens, I think it brings you back to the pack a little more. And look, I mean, Albany should have been able to do a better job against the run, and they didn't. But I know Delaware runs the ball well, but they're so one-dimensional that it gets frustrating.
Time with Paul Schwartz as we react to Week 9, and Giants get a win yesterday. And what your overall view there? I thought they looked pretty good, and both sides of the ball can't run the ball, but it was a good week for the pass, right? Eli Manning with 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, and it would have been a spectacular game for Eli. The 2 interceptions. It was kind of funny after the game. He said, "I hate cheap interceptions." And obviously the one Odell, the ball is in Odell's hands and it gets wrestled away.
Right.
So that's not on Eli. And then the other one is a tip pass at the line of scrimmage, which is, he had a problem with that early in his career. That's sort of a cheapie. It's a good play by the Eagles defensive back, but the ball's up in the air. Will Tye was open. The ball was going to get to him, but Connor Barwin sticks his hand up. But yeah, it was a very good game for the Giants. Look, they had to win the game. I mean, this was a make or break game. This was going to separate the Giants and Eagles as far as probably who's going to be a serious contender and who's going to maybe fall a little bit by the wayside. And I don't know about you guys, but I kind of felt the only disappointing thing is the Giants should have put this game away sooner. It should not have come down to 4 cracks into the end zone from the 17-yard line by Carson Wentz, which is always you hold a breath. There could be a penalty. It could be, a guy trips, a guy makes a play, and you lose the game. They should have been in control of this game better than they were. But they weren't, and but like I said, beating the Eagles at home, they were 3-13 against the Eagles, since 2008. So it's a game they had to win. They won, and they did it in decent fashion. Yeah,
and the defense did come up big when they had to, as you said, at the 17-yard line after Eli gets picked, and give it up to Trevin Wade, Paul, who really played a big game when they benched Eli Apple early because he wasn't getting it done. I thought Trevin Wade stepped in and played a really nice game.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was a little bit fortunate on the last play that, that's a ball that's got to be thrown more outside. But Trevin Wade did defend it well. He did defend it well. I think a better throw and, maybe a little bit of a better route by the receiver, and that's a touchdown, but it wasn't. It's Carson Wentz. They're not going against, Aaron Rodgers or Matt Brady, Tom Brady. So Matt Brady. Wow, that was an old Sienna reference right there.
Matt Brady.
Wow. I covered every game Matt Brady played at Sienna from freshman to senior year. Yeah. Yeah, I always liked him.
And he just recently got...
I've never confused him with Tom Brady, though. No. I'll tell you that much.
And Matt Brady, I think, just recently got fired at James Madison. I don't think he's coaching. He and Mike Dean were doing their thing there for a while, and they have changed coaches. So Matt Brady was the head coach at JMU for quite some time, and finally did not get his contract renewed.
He was at Marist, right? Before that,
he was at Marist before that, then went to James Madison. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So, yep.
Well. Tom Brady. They weren't competing against Tom Brady. It was Carson Wentz, who, looks. You know what the thing my takeaway. If any of your Eagles fans listening, my takeaway from the Carson Wentz thing is that I think this is the fourth game where Carson Wentz has had the ball in his hands with a chance to win the game for the Eagles, and he hasn't done it in this skid. My take is in the next 2 or 3 years, he's going to win those games. He looks good to me. He's a heady guy. He's athletic. But he's a rookie, and the Giants kind of made him look a little bit like a rookie yesterday at times, certainly early in the game. But, you know what? If I were the Eagles, I'd rather go 8-8 or 7-9 with Carson Wentz than 9-7 with Sam Bradford, and no, you're not going anywhere.
Paul Schwartz with us, New York Post on the Giants. Does this team look like a playoff team to you right now?
Well, if the playoffs started today, which is the most meaningless sentence you can ever say, but I'll say it anyway, the Giants will be the 5th seed in the NFC. Yes, it does. The NFC NFC has definitely come back to the pack. There's no question about it. Stalwarts like the Packers are not, a playoff team right now. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, I mean, they have Eli Manning, they have Odell Beckham, they have a defense which is getting better. There's no doubt about it. This is a team that relies more on their defense than their offense right now. This is a team that should be in the playoffs, barring anything catastrophic. The injuries to Pugh and Cruz, who would think it? But at this stage of the game, the injury to Pugh is more significant by far than the injury to Victor Cruz. We'll see how long he's out. I'm sure he'll miss some time, and that's a big loss. He's their best offensive lineman. But yes, this is a team that should get better defensively. As you said, the schedule is fair. There's their share of tough games, but there's no monsters out there if you look at it. If you look at it right now, there's no at Seattle, at New England. They have the Bengals, they have the Bears, they have the Browns, at the Steelers. At the Steelers does not look like the monster it could have been. Cowboys at home, Lions at home, at the Eagles, at the Redskins. That's a very fair schedule, and they should be able to navigate their way to 10 wins.
Hey, Paul, I was very impressed with the Giants yesterday, but if I have one concern about them, it's just how one-dimensional they are and how much they rely on the passing game. They run for 54 yards yesterday, 36 yards the week before that, and this is, pretty consistent. As it gets colder and as these games, raise in importance, how much does that, lack of diversity in the offense concern you? I
think it does, and what's really troubling, Zach, is the problem with these late games is they can't control the game at the end when they have the lead. I had no problem yesterday with McAdoo calling for a pass on 3rd and 4. None. Which is the pass that got deflected or interception. People were saying, well, why don't they run the ball and make them use their last time out? No way. That's losing mentality as far as I'm concerned. You have Eli Manning. You have 3rd and 4 manageable, and as you said, their running game is so bad that 3rd and 4, you run the ball, it's almost a give-up down, right? You might get 5 yards on a run, but you can't expect to. The only bright side to this is, look, Paul Perkins did nothing great yesterday. He had 11 rushes for 32 yards, but in the second half, he had 8 rushes for 34 yards, I believe. So he was better in the second half. 8 rushes for 36 yards. He did something yesterday which I thought was outlawed by the Giants running backs. He made someone miss, right? He made someone miss, which doesn't happen with his team. So he gives you a little bit of something, as he develops more in his rookie year. I think that's something to hang your hat on a little bit, that he can at least, make some guys miss. He's good in the screen game. I wouldn't be surprised if he moves past Rashad Jennings at some point soon, but it is a weakness. I don't question it. You can't run for 50, 60 yards and expect to win a lot of games. As you said, when the weather gets worse, when the passing gets harder, you have to run the ball better than they did. It's not going to be great, but it has to be better than this.
Yeah, and I don't know what they do about the O-line, right, is what it is. Can they get better? I know they can get better. Will they get better up front in the offensive line? Because that's where it starts.
Well, They have, Justin Pugh was out. Brett Jones came in yesterday, who was the pride of the CFL 2 years ago, and played well. Now, as a steady diet of that, sometimes when you first come in, it's okay. Now teams game plan against you and they're going to, attack. That's not good. I mean, there's no way you can portray that as they can just plug in Brett Jones and he's going to be okay for Justin Pugh. That's not good. Marshall Newhouse is back, which is either good or bad, depending on your perspective of Marshall Newhouse. I think Bobby Hart is the starting right tackle, even with Marshall Newhouse back. Will Beatty does not really enter in this equation right now. He's definitely 7 on a 7-man offensive line depth chart. Can it get better? The one thing that can get better is the tight end blocking can be better. Jarrell Adams is a better blocker than Larry Donnell, which is saying nothing. Larry Donnell was benched yesterday, didn't get one offensive snap. But maybe, Adams can progress. I mean, that's what you're hoping for with this team, is that some of the young guys can progress. Roger Lewis can progress in case Victor Cruz is going to be out. Brett Jones can progress a little bit. Jarrell Adams can progress a little bit. How about a guy, Andrew Adams? I mean, this guy is a lifesaver. The Giants are down at safety. This guy plays every snap. He had his first career interception. He combined with Landon Collins to drop Wentz on the option read short of the first down. He's not Ed Reed back there, but without him playing at a decent level, the Giants would be sunk at safety. So that's what you can hope. I mean, there are weaknesses on the team. It's not a great roster, but some of the young guys show signs that they can progress. It's only mid-season, so if they get a little better and better, there's hope for them.
Paul Schwartz, always a pleasure. Have you on. Great job covering the Giants. We'll see what happens Monday night against what should be a good Bengals team. They haven't been great, but that'll be a challenge Monday night. But I do like the way the schedule actually shapes up for the G-men moving forward. Paul, thanks for a few minutes on Big Board Sports. Anytime.
Will Brown after me? Is that what I hear?
Will Brown at 11 o'clock this morning.
All right. I want you to ask him for me if he's comfortable with the point guard situation. I know, they're going to have a younger guy in there with the loss of Singletary, so that's a big thing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Huge.
Let me see on what else. And if he can guarantee 2 wins against Stony Brook this year without Warney and Purifoy, because as a Long Islander and an Albany guy, beating Stony Brook counts for extra wins.
I got those 2 questions down, and we will ask the coach at 11 o'clock.
Please do. Thank you.
Thank you. That is Paul Schwartz from the New York Post.